You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. What's kicking, little chickens? That is an affectionate greeting to you, the listeners, where I'm calling you little chickens. I'm not starting like a brand new mystery podcast where I want to find out exactly what is kicking all the little chickens. I really hope nothing is, actually, as those little chickens are really very small. They don't even cluck, they click. That's how small they are. They don't lay eggs, they lay eggs. Which, and here's a fact for you, if you stick an egg to a toilet, you make an igloo, and then, someone can live in it. Sorry, I'm getting all educational, and this isn't an educational podcast. This is Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast suitable for all ages, except this week, 102-year-olds. I know. I promised 100-year-olds that they could listen after banning them all in season 1. 101-year-olds have been banned from this show a few times, and look, it's just that the 102-year-olds, it's their turn now, because they felt left out and they thought I was ignoring them. And I wasn't. I was just happy for them to listen, because they're all right guys. But now they said everyone thinks they're goody two-shoes and teachers' favourites, and could I ban them so everyone would think they were cool again? Well, 102-year-olds, you've got what you wanted, and if I catch you listening to this particular episode, well then I won't do anything, as I am too busy finding out just who's kicking the little chickens. Some chickens are big, some medium-sized. But what you might not know is that some are really little, and right now, they're being kicked. But by who? And why? And how hard? These are all questions that I set out to answer. I'm not an investigator, I'm not a chicken. I'm just someone who cares. I'm Tiernan, and welcome to this not-so-merry hen life. Sorry, I got carried away. Can everyone just stop kicking little chickens? Thank you. How are you, listeners? I've got a very exciting episode for you this week, and is a good question going to be answered? But before we get to that, two very quick things. Thing one, squee! Oh, sorry, I didn't know there was that quick thing as well. Sorry, three quick things. That quick thing was one. Quick thing two is if you need a new way to annoy your spindly fart grumblers, grown-ups, this week, then why not just answer everything they say to you by pretending you're a secret agent and they've given you the wrong code? If they say, for example, you have to stop playing computer games now, you can reply with something like, the yak is kicking little chickens, yes? And if they say, what are you talking about? You can just shout, the mission has been compromised, abort, abort, and then run away really quickly. I reckon you'll only need to do that a few times and they'll definitely just let you keep playing computer games forever. Quick thing number 3, splurk! Oh, sorry, that was another one of those quick things. I didn't know that was there either. Right, sorry, quick thing 4 then. If you have a question that you would like to be answered by a comedian on this podcast, don't forget to send it in to us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk and we'll feature it on a future episode. And if you want to let us know anything else too, or even just say hey, then that would be lovely. If you know who's kicking little chickens, then get in touch right away. Okay, so now, the important bit. I am joined by Whitby Ultimate Rounders Champions 1997, the winners of top tribute non-musical tribute bands that aren't a tribute band, and the group that the Crockery Kitchen once called Cup Breaking. It is Matt and Robin from The Noise Next Door.
Hey, Tiernan, thanks for having us. It's really nice to hear our Rounders accolades being spread. That's something that Matt and I don't talk about often since the incident, but
I know. But so it's smashing to be on the show. Smashing like the crockery that we used to throw.
Well,
Absolutely.
exactly. I thought I'd better bring both those things up. I just don't understand why people don't talk about it, apart from obviously the incident, which we won't talk about because I know it brings back those memories.
We had to stop playing Rounders after Matt got carried away with the bat and a passing goose. So since then we've been evicted from the league, haven't we, Matt?
We have. My eyebrows still haven't grown back.
Nope.
Yeah, I can understand. But I mean, to be fair, I've never seen anyone get a goose quite that far with a bat. I mean, they should have applauded that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's the aerodynamics of the goose. I think that's what really helped.
Although we lost points ultimately, it was foul play.
Yeah.
Oh, well, of course, that's it. Yeah. It's a shame because had you been playing cricket, then you could have been out for a duck.
Yes,
absolutely.
And that would have been quite good in itself. But wrong sport, wrong bird.
Yeah, no, that's it. I should before we go much further, I don't know if you can hear, but my neighbours have decided that now is a perfect time to do some banging on the walls, because that's what we do in lockdowns. I don't know if they're putting anything up or if they're just banging the walls with a hammer, but either way, they've not bothered doing that the whole time we've been in lockdown. But today they've decided to start that. So if you hear it, it's either my neighbours putting up a shelf or it's just them banging on the walls to interrupt the podcast. They knew it was coming and they wanted to interrupt it.
Well, I before we judge them harshly, I mean, it might be that they've listened to previous episodes of the show. They realise there isn't any background music, and perhaps some sort of rhythm might help us get going today. And I can appreciate that. I've often thought that a beat, can help you get started with things and feel motivated. So maybe they're just spurring you on. Robin.
Amazing. Well, moving forward then, if you like it, then I'll get Doreen from next door to pop round and she can go to every guest's neighbour's house and just hammer on their walls. That can just be a stalwart of the Comedy Club for Kids podcast.
That sounds great. And Matt, are you doing all right? You haven't got any rhythm behind you. Are you okay? Are you going to feel a bit all over the place?
I know it's like a deafening silence. In a minute, I'll start banging my head on the desk just to give myself some percussion.
That sounds great. Yeah, that sounds absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think that would make a really lovely extra noise for the podcast too. Actually, we'll come to noises in a minute. But first, let me just ask you both. We'll start with you, Matt. How are you getting on? Are you doing all right?
Yeah, doing very well, actually. I thought I'd learn some new skills, over this whole experience. So I have actually learnt every single song in the world.
Whoa.
Okay, now, obviously, it's quite an ambitious thing to say, but I can prove it. Right, you could give me any person's name and I can fit it into a song, because there's lots of songs with names in. Give me any name, any first person's name.
Frederick.
Okay, Frederick. I'm accessing my musical knowledge. Yeah, okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Frederick. There you go. I know.
Oh my God. I shouldn't really applaud into the mic, but that is wonderful. That is absolutely. I'm amazed people aren't banging on your walls with that level of skill.
There you go. Time well spent.
Incredible. Wow. And Robin, how about you? Have you learned any new skills?
I haven't learned any new skills. No, I've been quite busy because my housemates and I recently got a puppy, which is brilliant. I'm really enjoying it. My favorite thing about having a puppy is just the increased risk that you might tread in poo somewhere in your own home where you wouldn't expect it. You never know where it's going to be. It's like I was going to the fridge the other day and I just saw one out the corner of my eye, jumped over the poo. I was in the toilet. That's where you'd expect a poo to be, but you don't expect it by the fridge. So that's been my
there was always a bit of a risk, but now there's an increase.
Absolutely. I live with two other people and you never know where they're going to poo, but the puppy has really taken the game to another level. And so, yeah, I've been really enjoying that. It's the risk factor. She also likes eating things that aren't food, just anything that's not food she'll eat, but not really that bothered about food stuff.
I mean, as the parent of a 2.5-year-old, I feel like we've got a lot of similarities. There was definitely a time period where there were poos in unexpected places and constantly trying to stop her eating things that aren't food whatsoever. It's probably the same, but a little bit more manageable with a puppy, perhaps.
Perhaps so, yeah. The worst bit, I think, maybe you've had the same experience, is when you go into a room and you know there is a poo because your nose is telling you there is a poo somewhere, but you can't find the poo. That's the worst one. And you're like, there's a poo somewhere in this room. And, the other day she managed to get it under the sofa. We have like a slightly high sofa, but she's got a big puppy. So she must have, I'm imagining she sort of stuck her bum in the gap and sort of squidged back a bit, pooed under the sofa and then came away. It's honestly, it's carnage in this house at the moment.
That is stealth pooing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's skillful. But can I ask the puppy's name, please?
The puppy's name, the full name is Bellatrix the dog, after Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter. And we're training her using all Harry Potter code words. So, for instance, she's got like a small crate that she sleeps in, and instead of her crate, we call it Azkaban. And instead of come here Bellatrix, we've trained her to Accio Bellatrix, which I'm really enjoying. I'm mainly excited about when we walk her in the park and other people look at us and think either those people are a bunch of legends, or who are these idiots who are so obsessed with Harry Potter they've named their dog and all the commands after it. We'll see when she can go out, because at the moment she's not allowed out just yet.
Well, there'll be a time in the future when you'll be able to say go to a Harry Potter convention with her and she will just have the best day of her life.
Absolutely.
And everyone's shouting commands at her from everywhere. It'll be probably a bit overwhelming, but that will be absolutely amazing.
It's going to be so exciting. I can't wait.
Oh, that is properly great. Well, it sounds like you two are having a very good time. And I wondered if, obviously, one of the tips that you may give now is to get a puppy that poos in secret places, Robin. But I wonder if you could both give tips to our listeners, because they're all stuck at home as well. Just how to make it a bit more bearable, if there's things that you've been doing to keep yourselves entertained.
Sure. Well, my main advice, I think, is cake. I've found that if I'm feeling a bit bored or sad or anything is made better by the presence of cake. I've really enjoyed it. I'm not really a very good cake maker, quite a poor baker actually, I would say. But cake, just if it's breakfast, cake. If you're feeling a bit sad, have some cake. If it's dinner, have some cake. Cake. Always have cake.
Just cake, endless cake. There was a whole point last year where lots of people found lots of different things that ended up being cake. So there were lots of videos of people cutting a shoe and it turned out it was a cake. And is that your sort of ideal world?
Ideally, yeah, but I made one the other day and I was really proud of it. And my housemate came home. She's a teacher. She came home from work and she saw it and she went, "What's that?" I was like, "It's a cake, obviously. It's an iced cake." And it didn't look like one. It was wonky. Let's just say I'm not getting onto the next series of Great British Bake Off. That's not going to happen.
If you could make cakes that look like small puppy poos, that would be amazing, because then someone would find one and go, "Oh no, there's a poo here. This is awful. Wait, it's a cake!" And
also,
suddenly, overjoyed,
I could find it and then eat it in front of my housemates, and they'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing? Don't eat the puppy poo!" And then it's a great prank. I love it, Tiernan, and I reckon I could probably master that.
I think that would be pretty
It's a good idea, but it is a gamble if your puppy is pooing everywhere. You need to really keep a tab on which one's yours.
That is the big issue, isn't it? If you get it wrong even once, that is an awful day that could have been a great day. Terrible times. How about you, Matt? Have you got a tip that for keeping yourself entertained at the moment?
Yes, absolutely. Recently been doing lots of puzzles. I think a lot of people doing puzzles over the sort of the lockdowns, and I have a big tip for this, which is don't do the puzzle on your bed. I'm doing a 1,000-piece puzzle at the moment. It's taken a few days. I've been sleeping on the kitchen table.
Wow, that's going to be really tricky. And what do you need to do? Like, if you need a snack at night, are you then having to take it back to the bed so that you can still sleep on the table? Like, there's got to be other issues with sleeping in the kitchen.
Well, yes. Now that I'm sleeping in the kitchen because I don't want to disturb the puzzle, it means all the cooking has to be done in the bathroom. Which sounds like it's going to be quite close to what if Robin's making little poo cakes, maybe the bathroom is the place to do that.
And that is what I won't ask you where you're then having to go to the bathroom, because I feel like this is a tricky.
Oh, the neighbours are not happy about my use of their driveway. Yeah.
Wow, that is, and again, I'm amazed your neighbours aren't knocking on the wall as well with this sort of antics happening. Very lucky they're not that bad.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, those are brilliant tips. Thank you both very, very much. And I've got to ask you, as I ask all the guests on the show, this is an audio podcast. Obviously, the listeners can't see your lovely faces. And so I wondered because it's audio, if you both have a favourite noise that you could do for us. Matt, have you got a particularly favourite noise?
I've got, my favourite noise in the world is my girlfriend's rooster impression, and it sounds like this.
So good.
Isn't that good?
That was amazing. That was unbelievably
She's so good. Yeah, she does it on command. That was a human being, people.
And what's your girlfriend's name?
Louise.
Louise, just for the listeners, Louise just ran up to do the rooster impression and then vanished again, and that was absolutely. Oh, is she going to do it again?
Yeah, do it again.
That is genuinely incredible. Wow. Well, I'm properly amazing. And does she do that at a certain time every morning to make sure you get up? Or?
It's it's our alarm clock. She has a little vibrate one, wakes her up. Obviously, she's currently sleeping on the sofa. So yeah, it all works out.
I am.
He has to come and wake me up in the kitchen. Yeah.
I can't tell you how impressed I am. I genuinely thought you were living on a farm for a few seconds. That is amazing. Robin, no pressure, Robin. But we've just had the best rooster impression in the world. What's your favourite noise?
Well, I have two favourite noises, Tiernan. One favourite noise that I can't make because it's just a memory I have of a time that I was walking along Brighton seafront and a set of seagulls attacked an older lady holding chips. And the mixture of cry scream that she managed was just like, wah! And it was just brilliant. I loved it so much. And I think about that quite a lot when I'm trying to sleep. But my favourite noise that I can do is a tongue pop, which is really loud. So I'm going to come away from the microphone, but it goes like this. It's pretty fun, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
That was very loud.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah. So that's what I did when I was meant to be doing maths at school.
Your tongue isn't actually popping when you do it. Like your tongue's still in one piece. You're not sort of exploding your tongue as you.
Well, I have no evidence of that. I hope you're right. Maybe I'm losing sort of small bits of my tongue every time I do it, and eventually I'll just end up with like sort of a stub of a tongue. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like your tongue's made of Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
yeah, that's not a bad, I mean, result. Then if you have Rice Krispies and you eat your tongue, like, that would be awkward. But again, we're back to cake poo situation. I feel like you just got to be very careful with food, Robin.
I think so.
For the rest of your life.
I think that's
don't drink too much milk.
Yeah, that's
if you have Rice Krispie tongue. Yeah,
that would be it. Well, those are amazing noises. Thank you both, and thank you to Louise the rooster as well. And also, this is a family-friendly podcast, and it's suitable for everyone of all ages, but not yaks or people that are 102. But apart from them, I just wonder if you both have a rude word that you definitely won't be saying, so we can reassure listeners that this is a safe podcast. Robin, do you have a rude word that you definitely will not say?
Yeah, I certainly do, Tiernan. And actually, thanks for asking. It's a very serious topic. I absolutely will not be saying the word bum symbol, which is when you fart so hard that your bum cheeks clap together like a monkey holding a cymbal. I will not be saying the word bum symbol.
No, please don't. That is really, I mean, I feel quite upset just even knowing that exists. But bum symbol is definitely a word that we mustn't ever hear again on this show. Bum symbol is definitely quite an awful word. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, actually, along a similar track, obviously, people throw the word fart around, but that seems probably fine. But I won't be using my word for fart, which is poo burp.
Whoa. That is quite the word. That's quite a hefty, rude word, that poo burp. And I think you got to be very careful as when you do use it. Yeah. Sorry, I just farted. Wow. Goodness. I mean, I'm very pleased. So no poo burping, no bum symbols. Please, can we have neither of those words throughout the rest of the show? I'm definitely not going to say them. I hope neither of you say them throughout. Listeners should be quite safe. Wow, good. Well, that was quite an intro to you two. And obviously the main reason I've got you both here, the wonderful noise next door, is to answer a question that I thought, to be honest, I thought you were the best people to answer this. And this question was sent in from Jacob, who said he's aged 10 or 100. And he doesn't know. How are we meant to know? Maybe time is irrelevant to him. Maybe he's got no concept of how old he is. Maybe he's been alive forever. We just don't know. But he's certainly got an incredible question to ask. And I must apologise if we've got any listeners in Italy, but Jacob has asked me to say this in an Italian accent. And please do write in and complain after I've tried my Italian accent. It deserves complaints. But the question is, which I've got to say in an Italian accent, who stole my meatballs? And that's Jacob's question. So over to you guys. Who stole my meatballs?
Well, I think the first thing that needs to be raised before we go any further, Jacob, is if you're either 10 or 100, I hope the answer is 10, because as we know, you can only listen to this podcast. You can't listen if you're 102. So you want to make sure that the answer is 10, because if you're 102, then that means if you're 100, that means you've only got 2 years left to listen to the podcast, which simply won't do. And so, yeah, I'm hoping on your behalf that you are 10 years old. But the meatball question really cuts to the core of a serious issue, doesn't it, Matt?
Certainly does. I mean, if I was to just accuse straight off the bat, there's a famous Italian master criminal, Jimmy Parmesan. I mean, I want to point things at that guy. He's obviously Jimmy Parmesan is an authentic Italian name, and he is famed for going around people's foods, their linguinis, their pasta shapes, and just kind of rubbing his hands over them. Just spreading his little Parmesan evil all over the place. And I would say if someone's stolen your meatballs, probably him, and he's probably rubbing his Parmesan on it.
He runs around with his evil psychic Calzone, and Cal's the same, but he sort of envelops everything within him, doesn't he? So whenever he gets hold of anything, so if you manage to find the meatballs, what you want to do is you want to dust them for Parmesan dust, okay? And if there's any there, then that's definitely Jimmy Meatballs. If you find they're covered in goo and gunk, then you know that's probably Calzone's work. But there's a whole host of them. There's a whole host of evil thieves who run around stealing people's meatballs that you really want to keep an eye out for. Let's not forget Jonathan Spaghetti, who is so
married to Spaghetti
Betty and Jonathan Spaghetti. Yeah, you're right. The trouble is they have to live in a bungalow because they're so floppy that they can't go up the stairs.
Can I just ask, what do they do with these meatballs once they've got them? Because, I mean, it's a strange thing to, just between you and me, and obviously I'm inexperienced in this area. I've never stolen someone's meatball. But but I wouldn't quite know what to, someone else's. I wouldn't want to eat it. I mean, I'm vegetarian. I wouldn't eat it anyway, but I wouldn't know what to do. What would I do? Do they keep it? Do they treat it as a pet? What do they do?
Certainly in winter, the smart money is on people putting meatballs in your shoes. It's just a really good foot warmer. Yeah. It's like a heated sock, but it's a little spicy.
Yeah,
right.
If it was,
do they call them feet balls then, or?
Feet balls, feet balls.
Yeah. If it was summer months, then obviously you'd be using them for sunglasses, because if you put the meatballs on your eyes, then you do block out the UV rays of the sun. You also block out everything, but it works as sunglasses. But obviously, being a January time, a January theft, as it were, I'd say that you're definitely onto shoe balls. Feet balls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, shoe balls. Great. Okay. And so it's shoe balls at this time of year. So there's a chance that, and I assume, because Jacob asked me to say this in Italian accent. I don't know if Jacob has an Italian accent or not. I assume Jacob is asking for himself and hasn't sent this in as a question from someone else. But like, what's Jacob to do next? You said about dusting for Parmesan, but even if he finds out it is calzone or it's Jimmy Parmesan, what's he to do next? Is there somewhere he can report this crime?
Jacob, what you definitely want to do is call the actual police, and you ring them up and explain your problem, and they will suggest that you come along. And what they do is they have a thing called a police lineup. This is where they line up the most likely criminals. So you'll have your Betty Spaghettis and your Jimmy Parmesans. They'll all be told to line up. And as we've said, it's winter. They're most likely hiding the meatball in their shoes. Normally, you do a lineup by recognizing someone, but in this case, you have to close your eyes and listen. All of the suspects are told to walk forward, and it's the one that sounds like this. Mm-hmm. That's the one with meatballs in their shoes, and that's how you know. And
if two of them happen to sound like that, maybe one of them's walked in a lake with their shoes recently, and so they've got squelchy feet as well. Then what the next thing they do is they heat up the floor. They superheat the floor, and they listen for like a noise and a smell of meat coming out, and they hope that it's not their actual feet that's burning on the floor, and they hope it's the meatballs. But either way, that's the next step.
It's a very complicated procedure.
Well, it's a very complicated crime, Tiernan. You can't just dust for the Parmesan or just pop round Calzone's house. You need to isolate all of the possible variables.
I mean, it sounds like this happens quite a lot. Is this a very common occurrence? Like, should we all be taking care of our meatballs a lot more than we do? Because, I've had again, as I said, I don't really do meatballs, but I've had a plate of spaghetti and not even thought about protecting it from anyone. I just eat it.
But in your house, you do have a meatball safe.
No.
Oh, Tiernan. Oh, poor innocent sweet Tiernan. No, you need a meatball safe in your house. Well, everyone's got one. Everyone in I suppose if you're a vegetarian, you'd maybe keep, I don't know, like a courgette or some peppers in there. But you
vegetarians, they keep guacamole in a safe, because it actually happened to me once. Someone once stole my guacamole.
Oh, that sounds. Who would steal guacamole?
Oh, it's basically a vegetarian version of this meatball fiend, I'm betting.
Yeah, well, Terrence Taco is the guy who nicked my guacamole.
Terrence Taco is a very high suspect.
Yeah. That's so disappointing. I thought maybe I'd be safe from meatball theft by not having meatballs, and now someone's going to come and steal my guacamole.
Well, the worst thing Jimmy Parmesan is likely to do with the meatballs is he's actually got a full register of all vegetarians, and sometimes he just pops around and puts them under your pillow.
Oh, no.
It's not cool. It's not cool. He's a bad guy. He needs to go to prison.
That is awful. And I mean, I'd have thought that some of these, especially the spaghetti two that you were talking about earlier, if you put them in prison, they'll just sort of wriggle out, won't they?
Straight down the plug hole for the showers. Just then out.
It's very hard to keep hold of these criminals. And what else can we do? A meatball safe, that's one option. And is there anything else I can do to actively... I want to protect my pasta. What am I going to do?
Well, I mean, what do you do? Keeping your pasta safe. That's... I mean... Well, one thing you've got to do maybe is throw the criminals off the scent. Okay. Now this is literally the scent of pasta. Now, obviously, everyone famously, when you just boil pasta on its own, very strong scent. A lot of people might suggest that it actually doesn't have any smell, really. It just smells of boiling water. But no, to the criminal, it's a very strong smell. So what you need to do is you need to think really hard about some stronger smells that you can make that are stronger than the smell of the pasta.
Such as?
Wow. Yeah.
Well, I would use a word, but obviously I can't say my words. My
well,
my
hang on, if you
banned
need
word,
to
but it
use
was
it
perfectly
for
explained.
information bases, if you need to use it to explain important public, you're giving a public service broadcast right here to help people keep their pasta safe. So I think you're allowed to say it.
Yeah.
For
For safety announcement purposes, yeah. Whenever cooking pasta, that's the time for poo burps.
Yeah, no, he's not
allowed.
wrong.
You've said it.
Yeah, he's not wrong. He's not
Don't
wrong.
say it again.
The other thing you can do is obviously when spaghetti is cooked, and this is something I'd actually recommend you do if ever your parents are sort of cooking spaghetti for you. This is something I would recommend you do. Right? Is wait till they drain the spaghetti, and in order to check if spaghetti's cooked, what you need to do is throw it against the wall, and if it sticks, then it's cooked. If it falls off the wall, it's not cooked. Now, in order to make sure it's safe from the colander to the bowl, that's a real key moment where opportunistic thieves can nip in there, grab some pasta, and run away. What you want to do is you want to take all of the pasta in the colander and throw it all against the wall of your kitchen, okay? And your mum will love that. And then when she's prepared the bowl, she can pick it off the wall and put it back into the bowl. But what she'll know is that you've got an entirely safe bowl of pasta because nobody's going to come and nick it from the wall. There's just too much work, but they might just take a swipe of a whole colander. So that would be my tip, would be the next time your mum's cooking you pasta, get your hands in there, take all of it out and throw it against the wall.
No, these are amazing tips. I think just you two are keeping people's food safe. You've hopefully saved, well, if not solved the crime of Jacob's stolen meatballs, you've definitely helped him protect future meatballs. And I just wondered, from experts like yourselves, is there any food that is completely safe from everyone? Is there any food that you both say eat because you know that there's no one's going to take it off you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they all say there's nothing safer than a wafer.
That's what they say.
Is that what they say, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And why does no one take it?
For the technical reason is the reason why wafers are safe is because it rhymes with safer.
Right. And that's quite powerful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also tinned tuna, because it's gross. It's just real gross and nobody wants it. So that's not getting nicked from anybody.
Fair.
Yeah.
So you could live off sort of tuna wafer sandwiches.
Well, no, because somebody nicked the bread.
You could.
So you can live off of just tuna on a wafer.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
And then you put another wafer on top.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Tiernan, have you ever been on MasterChef? Because I think I could see
it.
No,
is that right? Well, do you know what? I'm going to go with just that idea, and we'll see. Hopefully, if it
make sure you take some coriander or some parsley to sprinkle on top, because on MasterChef, whatever they make, as long as it's got a garnish, through you go.
Will that then make it susceptible to thievery, though?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it will, yes.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. But sometimes that's part of the risk, isn't it? It's part of the risk of being a great chef. This is why you have to pay so much money in restaurants, because out of every dish the chef makes for you, at least 7 have been stolen. So you're paying for 7 times the amount of food you're actually eating, because they've got to make up their money. They've got to make the cost up.
Makes so much sense. Just makes so much sense. Well, thank you so much. I knew you two were experts. I didn't realise quite the level of expertise that we were going to have here, and hopefully that has answered Jacob's question for him on just who stole my meatballs. Thank you so much, Matt and Robin from The Noise Next Door, for joining me, and also to Louise for her rooster impression, and to Robin's neighbours for all the rhythmical impetus that we've had in the background throughout. What are you two guys up to? Obviously, at the moment, you're at home with your cake poos and your bed puzzle. But in the future, is there anything that our listeners can come and see you do?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're on tour next year. So we are traveling the country with a kids show, which is improvised comedy. So that's comedy where we take suggestions from you. You can shout out whatever you want, apart from poo burp and bum symbol. You can't shout that out. And you can shout that out to us, and we will make comedy. We'll make silly scenes and songs and jokes, all based on whatever it is that you want to see on stage. And we're traveling around the UK doing that, hopefully, as of the summer.
And if any children bring along their foods of choice that they want to protect, you guys can give adequate tips on just what they need to do.
Absolutely.
That's right. And we have a locker system to keep all the food safe. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I just feel like everyone's meals are safer because you're here. Thank you so much.
We're doing our bit, Tin, and that's what we're doing. We're here to do our bit. Remember how the NHS got claps? The NHS got claps last lockdown, and Matt and I are just sort of here idly waiting for our round of applause to start every Thursday.
Sure it will. I'm sure it will really soon. You guys deserve it. Wowzers, that was quite a question from Jacob, and what an incredible answer from Matt and Robin of The Noise Next Door. I hope now that you, Jacob, but also all the listeners, will be able to keep their meatballs and all their other food, except obviously wafers and tin tuna, very safe from all the food thieves. And don't forget, if you are in the UK, The Noise Next Door will be touring their brilliant kids improv show next year once all the theatres are open again, so do make sure you go and see them. Also, please don't forget that if you'd like your question answered on this podcast, please ask your spindly fart grown-ups, to help you email us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk with what it is that you need to know about, or you could just drop us a line for the sake of saying hello. Also, if your spindly fart grumblers would like to buy us a coffee for providing such a useful answering service and chicken kicking investigation, then they could do that at ko-fi.com/parpolbro or the Acast supporter button. And if they and you would be interested in a live online comedy club for kids show for your school or party or chicken kicking prevention weekly security meeting, then head to comedyclub4kids.co.uk and let us know. There will be more shows next week. When I ask, did you kick the little chicken? Mate, no, I don't even know what a chicken is. Well then, why is there one sitting on your head? That's just my fancy hat. Oh, the investigation continues. You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.